She arrived as a frightened girl, but the mountain would turn her into something else entirely. Lydia Hale was never meant to win. She was meant to break, to disappear, to be forgotten. But sometimes the harshest places forge the strongest souls, and sometimes the person everyone underestimates becomes the one who changes everything. Stay with me, because this is the story of how a woman became unstoppable.
I keep this town in balance. That is my purpose. The year was 1883. Black Ridge is a hard place, and it needs a firm hand. Men like Hale are a sickness, all whiskey and bad bets. He owed me. He owed the town. He was a weight that had to be cut loose. His daughter was the price. A simple transaction. A girl of 19 with no prospects. A burden to him, an asset to another. Up on the mountain, James Vance needed a woman, someone to look after his wild children. I made the connection. It was a clean solution. The bets in town are just noise, a way for men to feel like they have some say in their fates. I let them have their fun. It cost me nothing. I was not selling a girl. I was restoring order. Hale would have cried about it. I'm sure he did. He would have told her he was saving the family. Men like him are experts at twisting the truth. They make their weakness sound like sacrifice. But I am the one who truly saved them. I cleared his slate. I gave his family a chance to survive the winter. The girl had to sign. There was no other path. Her little brother has a cough. I know this. I know everything that happens in my town. I made sure the boy would be seen by a doctor. This was not kindness. It was an investment, a future problem solved today. She got a husband. Her father got to keep breathing. It was a fair trade. Vance arrived at dawn. He is a man carved from the mountain itself. Silent, capable. He understands the nature of a deal. He looked at the girl not as a bride, but as a necessary tool. He needs help. I provided it. Now he owes me a favor. That is how the world works. That is how Black Ridge survives. Hale handed her over and talked about the medicine for the boy. He was confirming his end of the bargain. My word is iron here. My promises are kept. It is the foundation of my control. Every debt is paid. Always. The girl got on the wagon. Another piece moved to its proper place on the board. That wagon ride is a trial. The mountain begins to test you the moment you leave town. She would have seen the children then. Vance's litter. They are not like town children. They are hard, suspicious. They carry the mountain in their eyes. They would see her as an intruder, an enemy. They would try to break her spirit. Good. If she has no spirit, the mountain will take her anyway. If she survives them, she might just survive the winter. Either result suited my purposes. A problem was solved. The town was quiet. That is all that matters. I heard the talk later, in the saloon. Thomas is his father's son. Anna has a mean streak. They will run her off before the first snow. They gamble with words instead of coin. They do not understand the math of this place. It is not about meanness. It is survival. The mountain is a beast that is always hungry. It ate their mother. It will eat this new girl too if she is weak. This is not cruelty. It is nature, and I am merely a steward of its laws. My town will remain safe. My order will hold. Her fate is her own. A month passed. Then I heard something. A trapper came down with his furs. He said the girl was still there. He said she was learning. This was an unexpected result, an interesting one. The town saw a lamb sent to the wolves. They were wrong. There is something hard in that girl. A piece of iron I had not seen. A few of the bettors were angry. They had lost their money. I smiled. They see a woman. I see a variable I failed to properly calculate. Her survival is an inconvenience, a loose thread. And I do not like loose threads. She is no longer just Hale's daughter. She is a question I will eventually have to answer. Another mouth to feed. Another problem to solve. I heard Anna start in on her. The girl needed to learn to hold her tongue. A sharp word was kinder than a hard lesson from the mountain. I pulled the wagon still. Let the silence do the work first. Then my eyes, they understood. Anna folded up right quick. Up. This new one, Mary, watched it all. Good. She needed to know the rules from the start. We made camp where I always do. My children moved like a well-oiled machine. Each one knew their place, except her. She stood there like a post. So I gave her a job, a simple one. Cook. It was the first test. I walked into the trees with my rifle, but I did not go far. I watched. I saw her find the fixings. She did not hesitate. The twins took up their watch, same as I taught them. They unnerve folks. That is the point. They can see weakness better than I can. Thomas gave her a hint about the onions. A small kindness. Or maybe another test. She went for them. I held my breath. A fool would run. But she came back. The twins met her. They told her the story. The one about the last. It needed to be said. This mountain does not forgive mistakes. It buries them. They said she did not flinch. That was something. I came back to the smell of a real meal. I tasted the stew. It was good. The onions made it right. I gave a nod. That was enough. Then I saw it. Lucy, my littlest one, moving toward the woman, just an inch. But it was a mile of trouble. Attachment is a vulnerability, a soft spot for the world to cut. I would have to watch that. I would have to be ready to carve it out if I needed to. I am not losing another one. Anna ran off to lick her wounds. Thomas kept to his knife. That boy understood. An edge is everything. I set the watch. Routine is armor. I laid out the rules for her. No heroics. Just a voice. Yell and let the wolves deal with the wolves. She would sleep with the girls. I would be outside with the boys. The tent walls were thin, but the night was a fortress, and I was its keeper. The fire died to embers. I listened in the dark. Heard the new woman settle. Heard my children. Lucy's little hand found hers. A small comfort I could not give. My Anna's eyes were open. I knew it. She was testing the woman. Good, the mountain demands a hard soul. Fear is a poison up here. The woman admitted she was terrified, but she did not run. That was the important part. Nowhere to go. She understood that much. Arma used to say the mountain breaks most people. She was right. It broke her. I listened for movement outside. A sound in the brush. Thomas stayed quiet. He is learning. The last one looked at us like we were a burden. She walked away from her own breakfast, just gave up. This one feels different. We will see. The next day, the road gave out. This is where the world ends, and my life begins. The trail tests you. The wagon complains, the children save their breath. They know what is coming. Snow began to fall, not soft, but sharp. A cold that bites bone deep. Winter was here. I pushed the horses. They fought me, but I am stronger than their fear. The city man, Crow, spoke a lot of pretty words. He sold her promises. I bought a chance for my children to have a mother. Lies do not matter up here. Only survival. Only the cold, hard truth of the mountain. Anna had already learned that. Soon this new one would too, or she would break. 2 hours. I said it to give them hope. But the mountain does not care about hope. The snow turned into a wall, a white blindness. Lucy started her crying, a thin sound of misery that grated on my soul. I stopped the wagon. The canvas went up, a small pocket against the storm. I put the little ones inside. The woman, too. She was cargo to be protected for now. Thomas and I would face the wind. It is our place. We are the wall that stands against the storm. The wagon moved slow. The world was gone. Just white and ice. This is bad, I heard Anna say. Real bad. The twins were quiet. They knew. Then the horses stopped for good. I felt the edge of the world right in front of us. The bridge was gone, eaten by the storm. Thomas's voice was tight. He still had fear to burn out of him. No way around. We cross or we freeze. The choice was simple. It was always simple. You live or you die. I sent them out into the wind, one at a time. The planks were rotten. The drop was forever. Thomas went first. My son walked with care. He made it. Then Anna, she froze. Terror took her. I felt a hot anger. Fear is a luxury we cannot afford. Then the woman moved. She did not coddle. She commanded. "Look at me," she said. "One step." Her voice was steady. It was a tool, and it worked. She walked my daughter across the broken world. After Anna was safe, the twins crossed. Then I carried Lucy. The woman and I were left with the wagon. We threw supplies into the void, made the load lighter. The horses smelled death. They did not want to go. I spoke to them, the same tone I use for a scared child, low, steady. We were halfway over when a wheel broke through. The wagon groaned, tilted toward nothing. I threw my body against it, a contest of will. The others pulled. We fought the mountain together. We won. The moment we were clear, the bridge fell away, gone. There was no going back now. I looked at the woman. She had not broken. She had proven useful. That was a start. The cabin looked like a fortress in the snow, built to endure. Inside was a wreck, the proof of a house without a woman's hand. The children scattered. They waited to see her fail, to see her run. I waited too. She looked at the mess, the dirt, the chaos, and she said it would take some work. She did not complain, she did not cry. She found the cold stove. She cleaned it. She built a fire. She began to tame the chaos. She was putting the pieces of our world back together. The test was not over. It would never be over. But she had earned the right to face the next day. The cabin was a sty, I knew it. But there was no time for sweeping when survival was a full-time job. Then she started, giving orders. My children looked at me. I let it happen. It was a strange thing to see. Order coming from chaos. For a moment, I felt a stirring of something I had buried long ago. I left to get wood. The feeling was a weakness. The clean floor did not matter, only the full belly. Only the next sunrise. She was useful. For now. That is all that mattered. The ink on the paper was black and final. A righteous mark. Mary's father signed his daughter away with a shaking hand. He saw it as a tragedy. I saw it as a solution. The man was a fool, sinking in debts he had made himself. I offered him a clean ledger. I gave James, that savage from the mountain, a woman to manage his wild children. An arrangement of perfect cold logic. People see the hard choice and they call it cruel. They do not see the balance it restores. They do not see the prosperity it will buy. I am the architect of this town's future. Mary is simply a stone in the foundation. Her feelings are a small price for progress. It felt good. It felt right. I think of that mountain. I think of the silver sleeping in its heart. James guards it like some beast in a story. He lives in filth while sitting on a fortune. His wife was just the same. Clara, a woman with flowers in her hair and rocks in her head. She had no vision for the future. She saw only trees, not timber. She saw a creek, not the power it could provide. She stood in the way of jobs, of wealth, of everything this town needs to survive. People who stand against the current of progress must drown. It is a simple law of nature. It is not personal. It is necessary. She made her choice long ago. I recall my last conversation with Clara. I offered her more money than the land was worth, a fortune for her family, a brand new life anywhere she wanted it. She refused. She spoke of her grandmother's ghost and other childish things. Her sentiment was a sickness, a poison in the well of our town's future. So I offered her a different kind of medicine, a slow, quiet remedy for her stubborn foolishness. They told me she whispered my name at the end. Of course she did. In her fever, she must have finally understood me. She must have realized that I was right all along. Her death was not a murder. It was an education. James knows better than to challenge me. He is like a bear caught in a trap. He can roar and thrash all he wants, but he cannot break the steel. The sheriff is my man. The judge eats right from my hand. An accusation against me in Black Ridge is just a slow way to end your own life. He chose to protect his children. He chose to be quiet. It was a respectable choice, but he still holds on to the land. He thinks that time will make me forget. I do not forget. The girl, Mary, is up there with him now. I will let him grow comfortable. Let him think she is his salvation. She is not. She is merely the next key I will turn in the lock. Word travels down from the mountain. The girl is not broken. She is binding that broken family back together. She puts curtains in the windows. She is teaching the children card games. She is making a real home out of that hovel. And James is teaching her how to shoot a rifle, how to read the signs in the woods, how to survive. The fool is sharpening the very knife I placed inside his own house. He is turning my pawn into a queen. This is an unforeseen development. It is a complication. A weak, frightened girl is a lever. A strong woman is a barricade. I may have to correct this miscalculation myself. I sent a chill to correct the imbalance. The man and this new woman spoke in the cabin, that scar on my side. He said things were better. The children smiled more. This is not better. It is a temporary lie. She mends things that are meant to stay broken. The family was weak. Grief was thinning them out, as it should. She is a false spring. I remember the last one, Clara. I took her breath. It was a kindness. This man, James, he only knew how to keep them breathing. That was not enough. And now this woman tries to do more. She tries too hard. The man knows. He feels my will. He goes outside to sit in my cold air. He understands you cannot fight what is true. A small one was crying, a sound like a weak bird. I listened from the trees. The new woman went to it. She did not belong there. She offered comfort. It is a poison. It stops the useful pain that hardens a soul. The child spoke of her mother, drowning. A good dream. It shows the truth of this place. The water always rises. This woman held the child. She absorbed the grief that should have scoured the girl clean. She was a sponge for their weakness. She did not fix it. She only held it. And in holding it, she gave it a place to fester. They sat in the quiet dark. I watched. I waited. This bond would not save them. It would only make the final break more painful. The girl spoke of the mother I took. I remember that one. She had fire at first. She fought me. She said family was worth it. An amusing thought. Family is just a collection of vulnerabilities. Then the sickness came. Sickness. My patient, quiet work. I wore her down. I turned her strength to dust. This new woman listens. She learns. But she does not understand. The child warns her not to replace the dead. A pointless warning. You cannot replace what is gone. You can only become another ghost. The woman says she is here to help. A foolish promise. On my slopes, help is just a slower way to die. I had seen enough. It was time for a true test. I sent the storm, not as a whisper, but as a scream. The snow came down like teeth. The cabin walls groaned under my breath. I wanted to see them break. The little ones grew restless. They fought. Their tempers frayed. This was the proper order of things. The man, James, tried to impose his own order. He gave them tasks. Busy hands to ignore the truth screaming outside. The woman cooked. She made something from nothing. It was a clever trick, but it would not fill them. It would not make them strong. It only delayed the inevitable hunger. They endured. For days they held against my fury. The woman was the center of it. She was the anchor. The smallest child slept in her lap. A dangerous attachment. The other girl, Anna, remembered the women who came before. One taken by sickness, one broken by despair. Good, clean work. This Mary was proving more stubborn. She was not just surviving, she was weaving them together. The storm passed on the 6th day. I fell silent. They dug themselves out into a world I had made clean and white. But the infection remained inside the cabin. My test was not over. My first wave had failed. I sent the second, the wolves, my children of the night. They did their duty. They found the weakest animal, a simple, honest kill. But the woman interfered. She ran out into the snow. She saw the goat, torn and dying. She knelt and refused to let it go. She brought her needles and her thread. She stitched the flesh that my wolves had opened. She cleaned the wounds I had given. An hour of her foolish work, and the animal was stable. It lived. They looked at her with new eyes. They saw a savior. I saw a disease that was learning how to fight back. She had won this small thing. But the mountain is patient. I have all the time in the world. I will find the cracks in her, and I will break her too. It was a cleansing, the world turning to mud, an opportunity. His long trips were careless, leaving them so vulnerable. When dawn came with no sign of him, I felt no fear, only purpose. Thomas's terror was a gift. It made my calm look like courage. I knew I had to go, not for him, for his children. They needed a real protector now. I would be the one. The decision felt holy. I would bring their father back, or what was left of him. The darkness on the mountain did not scare me. It felt like home. Thomas saw a trail of broken branches. I saw a path of weakness. A man that clumsy invites his own doom. We found him, trapped, broken. A king pinned to a muddy throne. His son's panic was a sweet sound. I saw how to free him. I would be their miracle. With a groan, the tree gave way. He was free. And he was mine. He was just a sack of meat, a dead weight. But carrying him home sealed my place. Every step was an anchor. Inside, their small faces turned to me. They needed a savior. I would not fail them. His leg was a ruin, a worthless thing. Thomas begged me to fix it. He thought I was saving his father. He did not see I was replacing him. I took hold of the shattered bone. I was not mending him, I was breaking him for good. The fever was my final tool. It burned away the man he used to be. For 3 days I was the heart of this house, their sun and moon. When he finally woke, he saw me clearly, his rescuer. The children swarmed him, but their eyes kept coming back to me. He looked at me, his gaze wet with gratitude. "You came for me." He said it like a prayer. Of course I did. You left your kingdom unguarded. I simply claimed the throne, He healed, but not completely. The limp was a perfect, permanent reminder, a mark of his weakness, a symbol of my strength. Each time he stumbled, my place here grew stronger. The children adapted. Thomas tried to be the man of the house. Anna tried to be the mother. But they were only children. They needed me. He saw it too. His pride was a small price for their survival, a small price for my new family. He sat on the porch, a broken thing. He thought telling me his secrets would create a bond. He told me of Clara, a wasting sickness, he claimed, a story for the children. I listened to his tale of a woman fading into nothing. I saw the truth. He was weak then, too. He let her die, just as the mountain nearly took him. This family needed a wolf, not a shepherd. And the wolf was finally home. I sit in my study. The map of the county is spread on my desk. The mountain is a dark stain on the paper. My mountain. I trace its ridges with my finger. Everything I have done has been for the good of this town, for the future. Clara was a regrettable casualty. Mary is a necessary tool. James is a stubborn problem that is awaiting a final solution. People will call me a monster. Let them. They eat the bread that I provide. They live in the safety that I create. They do not understand the sacrifices a true leader must make. I feel no remorse. I feel only a cold, clear certainty. The mountain will be mine. I look out the window at the town sleeping under my protection. They are all my children, and I will do anything to keep them safe, even from themselves. She had questions about the past. I gave her the only answer there is. I did what I had to do. The dead are dead. The living have to keep living. I saw her looking at me, trying to figure the angles. Let her look. Let her find the journal I knew she would find. It was the final test. The truth of this place is a poison. Some choke on it. Some learn to swallow it down and get stronger. The mountain would choose. It always does. I just collect what is left. This land should serve a purpose. I made her a generous offer. She refused. Clara chose sentiment over progress, so I had to correct her thinking. The town needed that silver. Her stubbornness was a sickness holding us all back. The soup I brought was the cure. It was a kindness, really, a gentle end to a pointless struggle. But her husband clings to the same foolishness. He will not sell. So a new plan is required. The woman, Mary, is a tool, sent there to fail, to abandon the property. The law will then see things my way. It is a clean and necessary path. Everything I do is for the good of this town. My town. I expected news by now. The silence from that mountain is unsettling. The city woman should be gone, broken by the cold or the loneliness. That was the design. A simple push to make a weak thing crumble. Then James would be truly alone, unable to manage. The courts would have no choice. The land would become mine. I understand leverage. Her father's weakness for cards was a key. I just built the door for him to walk through. The debt was his choice. Now, I wait. But my patience is finite. This delay is an irritation. A problem that will need a firmer hand to solve. They are guarding a fortune they cannot even comprehend. It is all there on the old maps. Clara's father found the silver. He saw wealth but lacked vision. He hid the papers like a frightened miser. Clara was no different. Now this new woman walks those floors. If she finds the maps, it means nothing. A treasure map is just paper to those without the will to dig. I have the will. I have the vision for what that mountain can become. It has a destiny that they are delaying. I am the one who will see it fulfilled. Their stand is a pointless gesture against the inevitable. Word has reached me. They are digging by hand. It is a pathetic sight. A cripple and a city girl playing at being miners. They believe this show of work will protect them. It is a foolish and desperate act. But their resilience is a complication, an unwelcome variable in my clean equation. This changes the schedule. My patient approach is no longer suitable. Their little game of defiance has forced my hand. The time for subtlety has passed. They are choosing a much harder lesson. The conclusion will be the same. It will simply be more painful for them. Something has gone wrong. The woman was meant to divide, to drive James into failure. Instead, she has become their strength. The family is a unit now. I see it when they are in town. The boy, Thomas, watches me. He knows. The city girl was supposed to be fragile, but she is not. She endured. She plans. She has turned my own tool against me. The pawn has become a problem, and problems must be removed from the board. The time for legal games is over. That land requires a final, decisive action to secure its future. It must be cleansed of this resistance. This town breathes because I tell it to. Black Ridge needed a future. I brought that future here. It sleeps inside that mountain, a heart of silver waiting for a steady hand. But one man, lost in his own grief, stands in the way. He lets his children wither in the shadow of his pride. So I sent a man to offer a kindness. Mr. Yates carried a lifeline, a generous sum to lead them off that rock and into a real life. It was not a threat. It was a rescue, a chance to save them from their own foolishness, a chance to step aside for the good of everyone else. I was doing the right thing. The report came back as I knew it would. Refused. James Vance chose pride over his own family's welfare. He would rather they starve on a pile of dirt than accept help. And this woman, this Mary, complicated things. A marriage claim. A legal knot to be untangled. But his stubbornness was the real problem. He thinks that land is his legacy. He cannot see that he is a ghost, haunting a future he has no part in. My offer was more than fair. It was a gift. And he spat on it. He is forcing my hand. My sources told me they were digging, like squirrels scratching for nuts. It was an insult. They played at mining on land that held the town's salvation. Every little piece of rock they pulled out was stolen from the mouths of better families. Their little project was a dangerous game, a child's tantrum against the tide. They thought they were fighting for their home. They were only delaying the inevitable and making it more painful. I gave them a chance to leave with dignity. Now they would learn a harder lesson. Then they found a significant vein. It proved I was right. The mountain was rich beyond their dreams, far too important to be left to them. This changed nothing, except the timeline. Their small success was a liability. It gave them a false hope that had to be extinguished. It was time for a clearer message. I sent 3 men who understood that some people only listen to strength. This was not about cruelty. It was about clarity. A final warning before their foolishness brought ruin down on them all. The woman pulled a knife. I almost laughed when I heard. A kitchen knife against the turning of the world. She has more fire than I expected. A fierce, pointless fire. The threat to the children was a tool, a lever to pry James from his pride. A man who truly loved his family would have folded then and there. Her little act of defiance was nothing. A spark against a stone wall. The message was delivered. 1 week. It was more time than they deserved. They were being given a choice. The consequences were their own to make. They did not come to town. They did not take the offer. They are preparing to fight. Let them play at war. A broken man, a bold woman, and a handful of children against progress itself. It is a sad, predictable story. Their defiance does not change the ending. It only changes how much they will suffer before they accept it. When the dust settles, I will have done what was necessary for Black Ridge. What happens to them is a consequence of their own choices. I feel nothing. It is simply business. There is no more room for talk. I offered them a way out. They chose this. They chose to fight. So today, we will conclude this business. My men are not here to negotiate. They are here to enforce a decision that has already been made. This is not violence. It is a foreclosure on their foolish pride. I am here to oversee the transfer of property. The land has a purpose, and I will finally set it free. Whatever comes next is a consequence of their own making. I am simply restoring the proper order of things. This is not chaos. This is control. This was mercy, that is what I told myself. That is what I... The man was a fool, a stubborn mule clinging to a pile of rocks. I was offering him a way out, a clean break. More money than this dirt was worth. Some folks just need a firm hand to guide them toward the right choice. His rifle was a toy. His defiance was a child's tantrum. I saw the fear in the woman's eyes. She understood the world better than he did. Power is what matters. Paperwork and judges are just tools. The real law is the will to act. Then the world exploded. A rifle cracked from the trees. Not his. Something else entirely. My horse screamed. My men scattered like quail. This was not part of the plan. This was chaos. Someone was interfering in my business, ruining a perfectly simple transaction. This mess was on their hands now. All of it. This mountain held a promise, not in its trees, but in the rock beneath. I saw a future of jobs and prosperity, a legacy. James Vance saw only dirt and memories. He was an obstacle, an anchor to a past that had to be cleared away. My men were sent to make him a generous offer, a chance to walk away with something. Instead, they were met with bullets. An old ghost named Garrett complicated things. He was another relic, a man who fought progress 30 years ago and lost. He should have stayed lost. They say Vance has a new wife, a mail-order bride, a desperate woman sent up the mountain to die. I heard what happened to the last one, Clara. A pity. She chose her husband's pride over a simple negotiation. Her death was her own choice. This new one will learn the same lesson, or she will not. It makes no difference to the mountain. My men returned defeated. It was an unacceptable outcome. A matter of poor management, not a sign of the Vance's strength. Garrett's involvement was a nuisance. He would fill their heads with old grievances, paint me as a thief. But I am a builder. I brought order to this land when it was nothing. The deals I have with the sheriff are not corruption. They are the cost of maintaining stability, the cost of progress. Now, Vance and his family were an infection, a pocket of defiance that had to be cleansed before it spread. He had 5 children and a woman who did not belong there. He was endangering them, not me. He was the one choosing this fight. He was the one who would be responsible for the consequences. I was simply finishing a business transaction. They chose war. A family playing soldier in a wooden shack. It was almost sad. I could afford to be patient. I let them build their little fortress. It was a tomb, and they were building it themselves. Every board they nailed was another testament to their foolish pride. Garrett was teaching them how to die, nothing more. He could show them where to hide and how to shoot, but he could not teach them how to win. Winning requires vision. It requires understanding that some things must be sacrificed for a greater good. They were fighting for a pile of wood on a worthless patch of land. I was fighting for the future of the entire territory. Their little drama was insignificant. A final, pointless gesture before the inevitable. What happens after? They ask themselves that question. There is no after for them. Not on that mountain. My plan has been in place for years. The fog they see is the smoke from a future they will not be a part of. The land will be cleared. The mines will be opened. The town will grow. Their names will be forgotten. That is the end game. It has always been the end game. Their struggle is just a delay, a temporary cost. He holds her hand. They talk of being together. It is a fleeting comfort, like a warm breath in a blizzard. It changes nothing. The cold is coming for them. The future does not care about their feelings. It only cares about what is built. The night was chosen with care. The hours before dawn are when hope is at its lowest. I received the report. 8 of my best men were in position. They moved like shadows. They were professionals. Garrett may have been a fighter in his day, but his day is long over. I made sure the law was on my side. Everything had to be done by the book, my book. The sheriff would make the first approach, a formal offer of surrender. They would be treated as criminals resisting arrest, not as victims. Their fear is a tool, a final chance to make the smart choice, to surrender their pride and live. I knew they would not take it. Pride is a poison, and they have been drinking it for a long time. Sheriff Porter knew his script. The charges were sound: assault, theft, endangerment. All true, from a certain perspective, my perspective. They were stealing a future from hundreds of working men. They were assaulting progress itself. James Vance asked for time, a foolish request. Time was a luxury he no longer had. 5 minutes. It was more than he deserved. In that cabin, they debated their own extinction. Fight or surrender. Die quickly or die slowly. Garrett spoke of escape. He still thinks like a rat, always looking for a hole, but this time there is no escape. To run is to admit I have won. They will not run. Their pride will not allow it. They will fight, and they will lose. This is not cruelty. This is business. This is progress. This mountain needed to be tamed. Progress demanded it. From my office, the distant popping of rifles was the sound of necessary work being done. A cleansing. I built this town from rock and grit. I gave it law. Vance and his family were a disease clinging to the past. They could not see the future I was building, a future of prosperity carved from that very mountain. What I was doing was not cruel. It was surgery, removing a sickness so the town could thrive. They called me a tyrant. I was a father protecting my creation. Their foolish stand was a final, pointless gesture. The law was on my side because I had written it. Their end was a foregone conclusion. A runner brought news, a diversion. An old man had slipped through the cordon with a bag of rocks. I almost laughed. Garrett. A ghost from a past I had already buried. This was their master plan? A desperate gamble by a fool. It meant nothing. One man could not outrun my influence. Every judge, every official for 100 miles owed me. That bag of ore was just a dead man's burden. This was not a fight. It was an extermination. Simple. Clean. I felt no anger, only a mild irritation at the mess they were making of it. They were forcing my hand toward a crude violence I preferred to avoid. Silence eventually fell over the mountain. Good. It was done. I waited for the sheriff to confirm it. My mind was already moving ahead. Surveyors would be on that land by week's end. The plans for the new shafts were on my desk. The town would celebrate this victory. They would see it as a triumph of order over chaos. A brief report of more gunfire reached me later. A loose end being tied up. My men were clumsy, but they were loyal. The outcome was never in doubt. I poured myself a drink. I toasted to the future, to Black Ridge, to my legacy. The waiting was the hardest part. The silence stretched on, filled only by my own quiet confidence. The sound of many horses broke the quiet, not the scattered return of my men. This was organized, disciplined. I saw them from my window. Federal marshals, and at their head, Catherine Webb, a woman made of iron and spite. The world tilted slightly. This was a complication I had not foreseen. Then I saw them. Vance, the woman, their children, and Garrett, bloody but alive. They carried the saddlebags into the open. My carefully built order had a crack in it. I straightened my coat. I smoothed my hair. I was Mayor Crow. I would not show them fear. I would show them the power they dared to challenge. Webb stood before me, her eyes cold. She spoke of justice and law, as if she knew the first thing about either. I listened to the accusations with a practiced calm. Resisting arrest. A laughable charge. I was the law here. The journal was the ramblings of a sick woman. The silver only proved they were trespassers. But then she spoke a name. Dr. Morrison. A weak link. A man of science and cowardice. A thread I had thought was cut and buried deep. For the first time, a sliver of ice touched my heart. It was not fear. It was the cold recognition of a flaw in my design. A mistake. They were all coming back. To my town. To stand against me in the world I had created. Webb thought she could break me with a public spectacle. She thought the town's loyalty was a shallow thing. She did not understand. Corruption is not a disease here. It is the foundation. I watched them ride in, a pathetic collection of hope and defiance. Webb saw cracks. I saw a wall of my own making. Let them come. Let them bring their accusations and their proof. This was not an end. It was simply a new phase of the war. I would not let them take this from me. I would burn it all to the ground first. I was maintaining order, a simple property claim, the tedious, necessary work of a leader. Then the door opened. Marshal Webb, an unwelcome storm from the outside world. She marched into my hall as if she had a right. She spoke of corruption and murder, all lies. Her voice was an insult to the 30 years I'd given this town. She held up a journal. A dead woman's fantasies. I saw them in the doorway. The mountain family, the source of the rot. They were a disease, and I was the cure. I built Black Ridge from dust. It was my creation. Her words were just noise against the weight of my work. I was protecting what was mine. Her threats were hollow. Land deals, convenient deaths, the necessary costs of progress. My councilmen shifted in their seats. Weak. They enjoyed my protection but feared my methods. Then she spoke of federal law, a clever trap, a technicality to steal my authority. My gaze fell on the woman, Mary. She should have died on that mountain. She was an error that needed correcting, a loose thread that would unravel everything. The thought became a decision, a final act to preserve my life's work. My hand went to my waist. I would end this infection myself. This was not murder, this was surgery. I raised my pistol. My aim was true. Time seemed to stretch. Then a flash of steel, a sharp, blinding pain in my shoulder. My shot went wild. The woman had thrown a knife. A savage. James, the broken man, was on me. He slammed me against the wall I had paid for. Deputies swarmed me. The pain was nothing. The humiliation was everything. They pinned my arms. I bled on the floor of my own town hall. I screamed the truth at them. This town was mine. These people were mine. They were nothing without my guidance. They owed me their lives. The trial was a performance for outsiders. Dr. Morrison confessed. The spineless fool. He took my protection, then he betrayed me. They presented assay results. The mountain's silver was proof of my ambition, not my greed. More people spoke. They called themselves victims. They were simply sacrifices for the greater good. Their small lives did not matter. The verdict was a formality. Guilty. 20 years. They seized my assets. They tore down everything I had built. They called it a new order. I called it ruin. That woman and her brood watched. They thought they had won. They had only doomed my town. From this cell I imagine them, back on that mountain, believing they are safe. She thinks she is a force of nature, a survivor. She is just a woman who got lucky, a woman who destroyed 30 years of progress. She took my town from me. She turned my people against their shepherd. She calls it freedom. I call it the triumph of the feral over the civilized. Power is the only thing that lasts. Order is the only thing that matters. They will learn that. The mountain will take them, or someone else will. There are always others like me. There have to be. I hear stories. The mine is producing. The children are thriving. It all sounds so peaceful, so neat. It is a lie. There is no peace without a strong hand. They are living on borrowed time. They have forgotten the fear. Fear is a useful tool. It keeps people safe. They think they are free from my shadow. But my shadow is what kept the real wolves at bay. I do not think of the faces. I do not think of the choices I made. To do so would be to admit error. I made no errors. I was building a legacy. They tore it down. They can have their happy winter. Winter always ends. I was right. I heard the news from a boy in Blackage. Crow was gone. A shopkeeper named Hart was in charge now. A woman. She was undoing all our work, tearing up the contracts, calling our claims fraudulent. She was a fool just like Vance. She did not understand progress. This land needs taming. It needs industry, not stubborn farmers and their little patches of dirt. The letter they sent him was probably full of promises, apologies for our ambition, assurances of their safety. They were building a cage of laws around themselves. They thought it would keep the wolves out. They did not understand. I am the wolf, and I am patient. They found silver. Of course they did. Just enough to matter to them. Just enough to feel like they had won. $15,000. I have lost more than that on a single card game. It was an insult. They were a festering wound on my plans. While they counted their pennies, I saw the millions slipping away. The future I was building, gone, replaced by a family playing house on my mountain. I heard they bought supplies, started a bank account. They were putting down roots. Roots I had every intention of pulling up. The world only respects strength. Their little victory was nothing, a temporary delay, a story they would tell themselves before the inevitable end. I watched them from the ridge. The air is still. A man should not talk so much. He gestures. He pleads with his hands. This is what she has done to him. Turned a mountain lion into a house cat. He talks of arrangements, of choices. A man like James does not give choices. He takes what is his. I brought order to these hills, an order of silence and strength. This new thing he builds is a fever. It is a weakness that will spread. I am not the sickness. I am the cure. I am doing the right thing. This land must be cleansed of this softness. He takes her hand, a foolish gesture. Love is a disease of the valley. Up here there is only survival, and I am the best survivor of all. Then she kisses him, the final seal on his doom. She thinks she has won. She has only painted a target on her own back. And his. The children swarm them. Their laughter is a sharp sound in the quiet woods. This is not a family. It is a vulnerability, a collection of weak points. They talk about chickens as if they matter. They think they are building a home. I know what a home is. It is a place you can defend with your life. Theirs is just a wooden box full of noise. And I see the dust cloud on the trail. Lawmen. The outside world is coming to call. Everything is starting to unravel for them. It is beautiful. The lawman talks of mapping and money. Fools. They sell the secrets of the earth for paper. I have seen those maps. Old Man Vance's work. They were a legacy. A testament to a man who understood the ground beneath his feet. Now they are just a commodity. $1,500, the price of their soul. They think this money brings safety. It does not. Money is a scent. It draws wolves. Let them count their coins. Let them build their false walls of security. A fat sheep is an easy target. The girl watches the mapmaker. She thinks it is nice to share. She will learn that what is yours you keep, or someone else will take it. Winter comes. They think they have mastered it. They buy toys. A rifle for the boy, but he will never learn to truly use it. A doll for the girl. Soft things for soft people. Their Christmas is a monument to their weakness. I remember winters that would strip the flesh from your bones. That is the real teacher, not a warm fire and a full belly. Then the town woman arrives, Elizabeth Hart. She speaks of a school. This is the true poison. She wants to fill their heads with words from books. She wants to teach them the ways of the town. She is trying to steal the children, to turn them into something they are not. This I cannot abide. They hold a meeting. They pretend every voice matters. Weakness. The children chatter about friends. They do not need friends. They need to learn how to be hard. The boy, Thomas, he has a flicker of sense. He knows he belongs here. But the woman, Mary, she coaxes him, seduces him with talk of things he does not need. And they give their money away, $500 to build their own prison, to honor a dead woman by making her children weak. Clara would spit on them for this. They are erasing everything she was, everything this mountain demands. My purpose becomes clearer. It is a cold, hard stone in my gut. She's in the garden, taming the wild things. It is her nature. She must make everything soft, controllable. Then he leads her away. I know the place. Clara's place. He shows her the grave, a sacred spot. He kneels and speaks to the dead. He tells a ghost about his new love. He dishonors her memory with every word. He speaks of love like it is a prize he has won. He is hollow. He has forgotten the language of this land, the language of silence, the language of strength. I watch him cry. I feel nothing. I see only the rot. The consequences are not mine. They are his. He made his choice. Now I will make mine. The mountain will be clean again. Someone said the woman was calling herself his wife now. They said they were building a school, naming it after the first one, the dead one. It was all so sentimental, so weak. They were building monuments to their own foolishness. Love does not put food on the table. Love does not stop a bullet. It is a fairy tale for children, a story to hide the cold truth of this world. You take what you need, you hold what you can. Everything else is a distraction. They would learn, or they would be broken. It made no difference to me. The mountain was still there, waiting. The town changed. I saw it from the shadows. New faces, new buildings. The air felt different, weaker. Elizabeth Hart was shaking hands at the general store. The fool doctor was drowning in his guilt. They were all playing their parts in this new, cleaner blackage. And there they were, the Vances, walking through town like they owned it. Their children were laughing. Headed for that schoolhouse. They had won, for now. They took my land, they took my future, and they were smiling. I stood there and watched them. I felt the hate solidify inside me. It was not over. They had their little house, their little mine, their little family. And I had my purpose. I would wait. I would watch. And I would burn it all to the ground. I was doing the right thing. Order requires sacrifice. I sent the weakness away from Black Ridge, a necessary cut to save the body. For 3 years we had peace. We had strength. The mountain was meant to be her tomb, a lesson that the soft do not survive. But the wind carries whispers, stories that defy all logic. They say the mine produces again. They say children are thriving. They speak of a town built from our scraps. They speak her name, Mary, the girl I condemned. They say she has grown hard, lean. They say she is happy. This is a sickness, a lie that undermines my work, a chaos that pretends to be family, a false hope growing just over the ridge. It must be cleansed. Their life is a fantasy, a brief warmth before the frost. I hear they have their little rituals, their meals, their sunsets. They believe they are safe. This is the greatest weakness of all, believing you have won. She builds her new world on the grave of the old one. She tries to honor a ghost. Hope is not a foundation. It is dust. The man she is with was broken. She did not heal him. She simply infected him with her own delusion. Their happiness is a mockery of our survival. It questions every hard choice I ever made for my people. I look at my town. Silent, orderly, strong. This is reality. What they have is a dream. And all dreams must end. I will wake them. It is not cruelty. It is a correction. It was a simple transaction, a debt paid, a problem solved. The girl arrived like any other piece of cargo, a tool to keep this town breathing. I made the hard choice that day. I did it for the good of everyone. It was my burden to carry. I kept the order. I ensured our survival. This mountain demands a firm hand, and mine was the firmest. I was doing the right thing. I was certain of it. This place does not run on hope. It runs on cold, hard decisions. But she did not break. She refused to play her part. She healed that useless James Vance and pulled the town's forgotten people into her circle. They called themselves a family. I called it a mutiny, a slow-growing rebellion. She spoke of justice in a place where only strength has ever mattered. Her brand of goodness was a poison, a sweet lie that would rot this town from the inside. The trial was meant to be a public lesson, a clear demonstration of consequence. But they chose her story over their own survival. They chose a feeling over the hard truth. Now I just watch them. They gather on that porch full of easy laughter. They believe they have built something that will last. They tell stories about the woman who bent the mountain to her will. What a pack of fools. The mountain is patient. This little kingdom they have made is nothing but a daydream. Their love and their choices are meaningless against rock and ice. She did not win. She only delayed what is coming. When the cold returns, they will wish for a man like me. They will finally understand my way was the only way. Model: all characters and situations in this book are fictional and developed for narrative purposes. The author does not intend to reflect or comment on any real individual or event. Readers should approach the story as a work of fiction, not as a factual account.
And so, the mountain that was meant to swallow she became the very place that gave her a name, a purpose, and a life worth fighting for. When she first arrived, she was nothing more than a transaction, traded like property, sent away by a desperate father into a world that expected her to fail. The cold was merciless. The people around her were guarded, wounded, and unwilling to trust. Even the land itself seemed to whisper that she didn't belong. But what makes this story powerful isn't just that she survived, it's how she chose to survive. She didn't harden into cruelty. She didn't run when fear would have justified it. Instead, she did something far more difficult. She stayed. She learned. She endured. And slowly, through quiet acts of courage, she transformed not only herself, but everyone around her. She gave warmth to a child who had forgotten how to speak. She stood her ground against a boy who tested her strength. She brought order to chaos, care to neglect, and dignity to a place that had forgotten what it meant to live, not just survive. And in doing so, she earned something no contract could ever force: respect, trust, and eventually love. But this story is not only about she, it is also about he, a man burdened by loss who thought survival was enough. It is about children who had learned to expect abandonment, yet dared slowly to believe again. And it is about a truth that runs deeper than any mountain vein of silver, that people, no matter how broken, are capable of rebuilding, if someone is willing to stand with them. The greatest lesson this story offers is this: strength is not loud. It is not always found in grand victories or heroic moments. True strength is quiet. It is found in staying when it would be easier to leave, in choosing kindness when the world has shown you none, in building something meaningful even when everything around you suggests it will fall apart. She did not defeat the mountain by conquering it. She became part of it. She listened, adapted, and refused to let it define her limits. And when she uncovered the truth, the corruption, the betrayal, the cruelty hidden beneath power, she did not look away. She stood her ground, not just for herself, but for those who could not stand alone. And that is where the story becomes something more than survival. It becomes justice. Because in the end, she's fight wasn't just about living through the cold or enduring hardship. It was about reclaiming dignity, about proving that no one, no matter how powerless they seem, is ever truly without agency. That even in a world controlled by greed and fear, one person's courage can unravel an entire system built on lies. There is also a deeper, quieter truth here, one about family. Not the kind you are born into, but the kind you choose. The kind you build through shared struggle, through trust earned over time, through the simple, everyday acts of showing up for one another. She did not arrive as a mother, nor as a wife in the true sense. But through her actions, through her persistence, she became both. Not by replacing what was lost, but by honoring it and building something new on its foundation. And perhaps that is the most meaningful part of all. We often think of life as something that happens to us, circumstances we endure, paths we are forced to walk. But she's story reminds us that even in the harshest conditions, we still have a choice. A choice to rise, a choice to care, a choice to fight for something better. The mountain did not claim her. She claimed it. And in doing so, she turned what was meant to be her end into her beginning. So if there's anything to carry with you from this story, let it be this. No matter how impossible your situation may seem, no matter how cold or unforgiving the world feels, there is always a path forward. It may not be easy. It may not be fair. But with resilience, with courage, and with the willingness to stand your ground, you can shape your own fate, just like she did. And maybe, just maybe,